Good Sunday afternoon. This is Micah Mitchell with crystal clear weather. I want to go over what we got coming up as there's a big pattern change that's getting ready to take place in the middle of the week, early week for the upper Midwest. So I want to go over that. I apologize for not being on here for a while. I've been super busy. Of course, this is not my primary job. So my real job is taken over the last week or so, but I will do a better job about getting these posted. I will also begin to do these from my PC so they'll look more professional. So let's get into what the pattern has come in the big pattern shakeup that we have getting ready to be underway. So temperature-wise, here's a look at the AI version of the European model, and we can see that there is a surge of warmth Monday into early Tuesday that will be pulling up into the region across the Ohio Valley all the way into the upper Midwest, and the entire Great Lakes region will largely be in the 50s, which is well above average for this time of year in the upper Midwest. And then across the Ohio Valley, it's a little bit above average. I think our average here in central Indiana right now is right around 50 to 51 degrees. So we'll be warmer than average through Tuesday, but then a big change is going to take place. And so we can see this initial front then begin to press its way through. And as we're getting into Wednesday, highs, you can see the high temperatures in the 50s pushed off into Ohio and eastern Kentucky. And we can see that highs in the 20s have pushed into the Minnesota and northern Iowa regions, into northwestern Wisconsin. And that is a reinforcing shot of colder air that will then begin to push farther south, so that by Thursday, as we, if I can do this thing right, by Thursday, most of the region, all the way from Minnesota, where it'll be highs in the 20s, as we zoom in on that a little bit, highs in the mid 20s in the western parts of the mid 30s in the eastern parts of Minnesota, all the way down into central Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, where some areas may struggle to reach freezing, to the mid 30s. So that's going to be a big change from what we've been used to for most of November. I believe most of the region is running about its second to third warmest on record. So for November so far, but the second half of November is going to take a big chunk out of that warm anomaly. And as we just roll these temperatures farther out, we can see that the cold is really going to stick around for quite a while. We'll begin to see, this is by next Sunday, we may begin to see a resurgence of some warm air ahead of another storm system. That's where our warmth is going to come from the second half of this month, is just warm air pumping up ahead of low pressure systems. So Missouri may see some decent temperatures next weekend, maybe in the 60s. But you look up in the upper Midwest, up into Minnesota, Wisconsin, those areas will remain pretty cold. And then central Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, we'll get back up into the, around 50, maybe the lower 50s. That's this might be a touch too warm, but it'll still be warmer than average, but that will not last long. As we then take a look going farther out, we can see yet another cold front begin to press into the region. And again, I think this may be a little bit warm on some of the warm surges, but then as we're getting right before Thanksgiving, take a look at, this blast of cold air that begins to push in. Then as we get into the, look at this is in the overnight hours, into the early morning hours. This is Thanksgiving morning, and we can see possibly lows in the teens. Again, this is a long way out. Some data has us staying in the 20s. I think the truth is probably going to be somewhere in between. Probably, I think Thanksgiving morning, we're going to be looking across the lower Midwest, Ohio Valley, with lows in the mid 20s. And then back across Minnesota and parts of Wisconsin, I actually think these temperatures may be relatively valid, maybe a touch too cold, but I do think that some teens on Thanksgiving morning are going to be very possible as we get into Thanksgiving morning. Then watching this progress out, we can see just these warm shots are very quick ahead of cold fronts, and then we'll continue to see some reinforcing cold into the early parts of December. I do believe that once we get to the second week of December through mid-December, it may warm back up, and then around December 20th or so, we may see some reinforcing cold. I actually feel pretty good about most of the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley seeing a white Christmas this year. I actually feel pretty good about that. Last thing we're going to take a look at is going to be snowfall. And what I'm showing you here is actually snow depth. I'm using this because this time of year, what falls from the sky versus what sticks to the ground can be wildly different. So this is kind of accounting for melting. And so the colder temperatures that I was showing you in the upper Midwest, that's going to show up in how the snowpack sticks around. Whereas down in the Ohio Valley, you'll see the snow kind of come and go because our temperatures down in this part of the region are going to be a little bit warmer. We're going to have some surges of warmth more than the areas like Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and even the northern probably half of Michigan or so, where they're going to stay cold enough that when they get these decent snows, they're going to stick around. So we'll take a look here real quick and roll through, and we can see our initial wave. What this little wave right here is that we're going to have an upper level low that's going to move through, and then it's just going to kind of linger in the region, and it may even kind of backtrack a little bit, and where that sets itself up and how well it pulls the cold air in is going to be huge as far as how much snow falls with these different little pockets of snow. So this coming week, I think across the entire region, it's going to be a little sketchy on where the snow falls and how much snow falls and how much snow sticks. But I do feel pretty confident that you're going to see some decent snows across good parts of Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and the western half of Michigan, getting some snow off of Lake Michigan. Indiana and Ohio, I do believe we got some snow coming, but it's a little more sketchy. So we take a look at this again, and we're getting into late week, and we can kind of see, again, this is snow on the ground. This is not snow falling, because the model will show actually more snow falling by a lot than what actually stays on the ground. I do think the GFS this is what I'm showing you right now. I do think it's underdone on its coverage. I do think that there's going to be more coverage, again, in these areas up in here. I do think there will be more coverage up in there. We'll keep an eye on that as the week develops. And then as we get in down here into the Ohio Valley, you can see this is going to wobble back and forth. So I really think that probably the northern half of Indiana, most of Ohio, probably the northeastern third of Illinois, you're going to have a decent shot of seeing at least a dusting of snow at the end of the week. Then as we continue out and that system moves away, then we're going to watch two larger systems that will affect basically the upper Midwest and Michigan, the Great Lakes region. So we can see this first system comes through next weekend, right behind that warm shot. Remember, I was showing you the warmth that surges next Sunday, and then that's right ahead of a storm system. On the backside of that storm system, as that low pressure pulls away, there could be some significant snows falling across much of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. I do think that storm, that snow is going to stay north. It may actually be a little more north than what this is showing. But again, this is just model guidance, and it's just something to give you a visual. But notice what happens with this snow, though. See the snow that's down on the ground? You'll notice that does not go away, really. And then we'll see another system right after Thanksgiving come through, and it will drop some heavier snow right across those same regions. This, I do think, is actually going to be farther south, and I do think that I would expect this snow track to be more down in this area and cover this up here where the GFS does not have it, but that's still a couple of weeks away, so we'll see. But the thing to note is that Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, good chunk of Michigan, you're going to start turning snowy, and that snow is probably going to stick around because you're going to be cold, and that snow may pile up pretty quickly across a couple of systems. So I'm going to stop this right there. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what it may be coming over the next couple of weeks. Again, I do think the cold, especially across, I think it's going to really stick in the upper Midwest and in the Great Lakes region. In the Ohio Valley and the lower Midwest, we're going to see some surges of warmth, just quick surges. I think cold is going to be dominant through early December, but we're just going to have to watch these systems, see how well the cold manages to dig. There are some other factors that can affect things. The tropics are beginning to wind down, so that influence will become less. So that's one of the things that's thrown wrenches into a couple of forecasts over the last month or so. So that thread will begin to wind down, but other players are coming into focus. So we'll see how this all plays out as it gets closer. But just know, again, beginning midweek, especially in the upper Midwest and Great Lakes region, you're going to become more active with snow. The lower Midwest, Ohio Valley, we're kind of going to be mixing between snow and rain, and with maybe not a major sticking event until late November or early December. That's still a long way out. We'll see how it plays out. This is Micah Mitchell with Crystal Clear Weather. Have a great day.